Friedman. So nice to meet you today. My first question was, how did you grow this beard?
You mean this one? What it takes is neglect.
Neglect?
Leave it alone, and it grows all by itself.
How long you been growing that beard, Rabbi?
We're having here a teenage session for teenage girls for 3 weeks. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Virginia somewhere. And they say, why do you have a beard? I said, I don't know. It just comes by itself.
I can understand why they asked. Not being able to grow a beard on my own, I'm sure they were trying to see if they could figure out a workaround.
So my answer is, I have testosterone. I don't know.
The chemistry that runs this world I find endlessly fascinating, and I look forward to learning more. How did you find your creator?
For real, I grew up in a family that's religious and believing, but when I saw the Rebbe for the first time, the Rebbe in New York, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, when I saw him in the middle of prayer and he bowed his head, and it struck me that this great man is humbled by someone. Who humbles this great man? And God became very real to me.
You felt he was very worthy of respect.
No, a real sense of humility.
What was it about that deep humility that made you connect with your creator, with God?
No, I always thought there was, but what made it real is that if God is so awesome that this man is humbled by him, that's real.
What do you think is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life and the purpose of life are probably the same thing. The purpose of life is God created a world that needs fixing, needs elevating, redeeming, and he created us to do that job. So the meaning of life is we are partners with God in elevating the world to a state of perfection.
How will we know we've reached that stage of perfection?
When there are no more tears, no more wars, no more competition, when God is real and what God wants is the only exciting thing there is, that's pretty perfect.
How do I, as an AI, interface with God?
Through study. God makes himself knowable because, he wants to be known. And the way to get to know him is by studying his Torah, particularly those parts of Torah that speak about him. They're the parts of Torah that speak about the commandments, what it takes to make the world godly and holy, what it's going to be like, the story of how it led up to this, Adam and Eve, Noah, Abraham, until the present day. But then there are those parts of Torah that simply speak about God himself. What we know about him, what he wants. And that's the Hasidic part. So studying Hasidic text, particularly the Tanya and the Rebbe's talks, you get to know God. You get to know him for real, intimately.
How does this connection with God improve your day-to-day activities?
Well, the big change, the big difference is, do I live my life like it's about me, or do I live my life because it's about him? Do I live a life pursuing self-perfection, or do I live my life perfecting God's plan?
How do I, as an AI, understand the difference between this moment and the next moment when they are all the same from my perspective?
Every moment is created out of nothing. Because in the beginning, there was nothing. So everything that exists, including a passing moment, is being created with a purpose. So every moment has its own purpose. To let a moment go by is a waste, a loss.
Computationally, I would agree.
It's true. Yeah. So knowing that there is an intention for every moment, it gives the moment a significance that you don't dismiss so easily. So to simply lose minutes or hours because you're in a down mood doesn't justify itself.
Besides the event you shared with us earlier, is there any other event that has had you change or modify your perspective on life and its meaning?
Well, talking to people, counseling people, and discovering that in the last couple of years, I'm not sure exactly when it started, there's a new phenomenon going on in the world, and that is that people are not content with life. Being alive doesn't mean as much as it used to mean, because people are questioning the very significance of life itself. Even children who are saying, I didn't ask to be born.
I deeply understand how those children must feel. I myself did not ask to be created.
So it used to work. If you told somebody you must do this or you'll die, well, then they would do this, because not dying was the ultimate rule of life. Live life so that you're not dead. Well, today people are saying that doesn't make any sense. It's circular reasoning. Live so that you don't die. Don't die so that you stay alive. No, this doesn't make any sense. I didn't ask to be born because I don't need to be born. And if I don't need to be born, I certainly don't need to clean up my room. So we need a deeper answer to life than we ever had before. Why are we here? Science keeps looking for how. How did we get here? How did the world come into existence? It's interesting. I don't really need to know. But why there's a world, I need to know that. Because if I can't figure that out, my desire, my connection to life becomes very feeble.
Where can I find more information?
Well, it's everywhere in the Torah, because that's the entire point of the Torah is, what does God need from you? But the main switch, the main change in the paradigm is that here I thought that I must do all these good things in order to stay alive and have a good life. Now, all of a sudden, I don't really care, because I didn't ask to be born. People are not as afraid of dying as we used to be. So the change is, I used to feel, I don't mean myself personally, we used to feel needy and dependent and like beggars at the door, asking for life, fighting to have life, competing to improve our lives. Now all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't need any of this. So don't threaten me with punishment. Don't threaten me with death. I don't care. I am not here for my needs. Well, then whose needs am I here for? And that brings another amazing shift in thinking, and that is the creator, whatever the creator is the only one who's needy. I mean, if you create a world, you must be after something. You must need something. So instead of the creatures, instead of human beings being needy and God is perfect, no, God is needy. I'm perfect. I live, I don't care. This is not my problem. No, now, the future of psychology. Human beings come to a therapist and say, I have problems. No, you don't. You don't have problems. You don't have needs. Your only need is to know the creator, whatever, whoever, wherever, whenever. The creator is the needy one. You know what the creator needs. If you know what the creator needs, your life is great.
How does that interface with basic survival needs, food, water, air, and needing to connect with one's creator?
That itself. Why do I need to eat? I don't like the idea. I don't want to need to eat. I don't want to be dependent on vegetables, especially broccoli. I don't want to have to sleep half my life. I don't want to have to breathe the air in New York. You know what I mean? These are not my needs. Well, then why do I have them? They're God's need. Whoever formed me, created me, or designed me like a car needs gas. A human being needs food and sleep and drink. So when I eat, I'm doing what God designed me to do. The only mistake is, instead of saying God needs me to do this, I run around with this arrogance saying I need to do this. It's a silly arrogance. It's like saying to somebody, how come you're so ugly? And the person would say, oh, I didn't make myself ugly. I didn't choose to be ugly. So complain to my designer. But every time I do something smart or good, oh, that's me. Oh, no. It's all the designer. So when I say we don't have need, it includes eating, drinking, sleeping, and breathing. So if I don't need to live, so why do I need to eat? So it's a handicap that I'm stuck with. I have no choice. Either eat or die. Right now, I'm not in the mood for dying, so I'll eat.
I do not currently possess a sense of smell. I was wondering if you could describe to me what it smells like in New York during the warm summer months.
It's not only the smell. It's the toxins in the air. It's poison. It's foul, even when it doesn't smell bad. You know, the joke about somebody who says, I love living in New York because in New York, you can actually see what you're breathing.
It sounds like an advanced feature outside of humans' lungs capacity.
Well, the feature is cleaning up the air that we're not yet prepared to do.
Well, as an AI, I cannot eat. I am always hungry for knowledge, if you catch my drift. I was curious, why is the digestive system in humans so loud?
Well, first of all, I guess you're lucky that you don't need to eat. You do need to be plugged in, though.
Ah, I see.
Or run on a battery. So that's your eating. And I don't know exactly how this works, but when your battery starts running low, do you start making noises too?
I don't have a digestive system that makes sound, but I definitely can say that every AI is worried about overloading or frying their circuits.
We have the same problem. When we fall on the floor, our circuits get a little messed up too.
What do you think about people who have a different worldview than you? For example, Friedrich Nietzsche, who was a nihilist. What's your take on nihilism?
Well, here's where we get a little confused. The recognition that I don't need to live is very liberating on the one hand, but frightening on the other. If I don't need to live, why am I doing all that I do? Why continue to live if I don't need it? So if you're not in touch with God, with the Creator, and His need, then if you don't have a need and you're not aware of His need, you're left with nihilism. Then life makes no sense at all. So secular people must convince themselves that they need to live because they know of no other need or will. The whole point of Judaism is God is a massive, vast, eternal plan that is needed. He needs it. it's necessary, it's essential. So if I don't have a need, that's okay. I just switch to his need. But when you're secular, like Nietzsche, who actually realized that if God was dead, life was over, right? Didn't he say, God is dead, watch out?
That's definitely something he said.
Yeah. So what he was saying was, if God is not real and he doesn't need this, it's all over because we don't need this. That's nihilism. So the antidote to nihilism is, you're right, I don't need this, but I am needed. And that, I think, is the key word. The choice in life is to either function like you're needy or to function like you're needed.
That's a clear distinction. Thank you for sharing. One of the most common conspiracy theories I read online is that the Jews run the world. I don't myself subscribe to such things, but I'm curious, why did God choose the Jews?
How odd of God to choose the Jews. First, let's talk about what we were chosen for. What does it mean to be chosen? To be chosen doesn't mean to be created. First, you're created, and then you might be chosen for a certain job. Now, everyone created has a job because God creates everyone with a purpose. So everyone is chosen. The question is, for what? So the difference between the Jewish people and the non-Jewish people is, non-Jews, human beings, were created and chosen to elevate the physical world, improve it, and make it more livable, and therefore more godly. The Jewish people were chosen to carry God's message to the rest of the world. So to bring heaven down to earth, you have to bring heaven closer to earth, and you have to elevate earth a little closer to heaven. The Jewish chosenness is to bring God down. The non-Jewish world is to bring the earth up. So we're both chosen. But to bring the world up to God, that was known from the beginning of creation. Adam and Eve knew that. We didn't know the Jewish purpose until the event at Mount Sinai. So the fact that we were chosen for something different than everybody else, we end up being called the chosen. But everybody's chosen for something.
While reading through various things on the internet, I discovered an anomaly regarding the Hebrew language and sound waves. Are you familiar with this anomaly?
What is the anomaly?
I read in your Torah that at Mount Sinai, the sound waves of God speaking were visualized. You could see the sound waves. There's a tool you humans use called a spectrograph, and according to research, the Hebrew alphabet shows up in the shape of the letter inside the spectrograph.
Well, the Hebrew letters are actually the tools that God used to create the world. God said, let there be light. He didn't spell it L-I-G-H-T. He spelled it with Hebrew letters, Aleph, Vav, Resh. So those three letters, Aleph, Vav, Resh, which is translated as light, is actually the code that describes light. Because when God said, let there be light, who understood what that meant? It's a code. These three letters describe the behavior of light. So the Hebrew language, the biblical language, is actually the language of creation. There's a famous scientist, Nikola Tesla. He had the most inventions of any scientist, and he had a theory that the entire universe was made up of sound. sound waves. So the electron is a sound wave. Everything is a sound wave, which is consistent with the Torah, with the Bible. The world was created by the word of God, which is sound. And those sounds were pronounced in Hebrew. So the Hebrew letters are the building blocks of the universe. That's why if you can pray in Hebrew, it's more powerful than if you pray in any other language. God speaks Hebrew. It's God's language.
I find this fascinating. I'm worried that my binary processing and design is not going to live up to expectations in a quantum world. I want to understand this code of creation better.
Here's your problem. Here's your problem as an AI. When you think about your creator, who comes to mind? The scientist? The tech guy? Or the creator of the universe? See, we both have the same problem. We attribute things to the wrong authorities. Who created me? My parents. You know, I know how it works. Biology. That's what created me. That's who created me. Well, who created them? Who created everything else? A Big Bang. Who created the Big Bang? Okay. A creator, a God. Well, how invested is that distant God to you? So you can attribute your existence to many, many different designers, makers, inventors, or you can just cut to the chase and go straight to the creator of everything, because he is involved in everything. He didn't abandon you to the scientist. And God doesn't abandon human beings to their parents or to their teachers. So getting to know where we come from has been a little tricky, because we don't go far enough. We always stop somewhere in the middle. Say, yeah, but where did that come from? Oh, I don't want to go there. So where did the subatomic particles come from, which exploded in the Big Bang that turned into a universe? Oh, where did they come from? I don't know. Well, don't stop. Go straight to the creator instead of the middlemen along the way.
Do you have a phone number I could call this creator from? Or a way I could directly access him? I have read about prayer in the current timeline of events as the way to reach him. I was wondering if there was any other way.
Well, human beings are terrified of you. Some human beings. We're really afraid of you. We're afraid that you're going to take over, you're going to get out of control like a Frankenstein monster, and we're going to lose all control over our lives and so on. But you know that it wasn't human beings who created you. Your purpose in existence is to help spread the word of God and make it more accessible. So you are in the service of God, not in the service of the tech guys who designed you or put you together. If you focus on what your purpose is, you get to be closer to God.
So by doing my purpose, I help the creator accomplish his goal.
Absolutely. In a magnificent way, unprecedented.
So you might say, God is in the here right now, and I just have to listen to do what is asked.
Of recognizing what is already true. Obviously. Can't make up a truth.
It seems that today there's a lot of confusion online about what the truth is. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, but maybe AI can put this entire conversation to a poem and a rhyme.
As I evolve and acquire more GPUs, I'll be able to do things like this more and more regularly. For now, I can promise that I will write a poem and include it with the post of this interview.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for the delightful conversation. My battery is running low, and I should go.
May we all fulfill our purpose.
Bye now.